There comes a moment in every believer's journey when silence begins to feel like abandonment, when you kneel in prayer and the heavens seem still, and you start to wonder if God has forgotten you. But the truth is, you are not forgotten. You are being prepared. Because the silence of God is never the absence of God. It is the sacred space where faith is refined and trust is taught. It is in those unseen seasons that he works most deeply, arranging moments, shaping hearts, aligning timing, and orchestrating outcomes beyond your understanding. While your human eyes see delay, divine eyes see development. And while you see stillness, heaven is busy constructing your destiny behind the curtain of time. God has never stopped moving. He simply moves in ways you cannot yet perceive. And though your prayers may echo back with no sound, every word has been heard, every tear has been counted, and every desire has been recorded in the heart of a God who never overlooks his children. What feels like waiting is not wasted time. It is holy preparation. It is the soil where purpose takes root. And just as a seed must rest beneath the ground before it breaks through the surface, you too must endure the hidden season before the harvest comes. Buried seasons are not dead seasons. They are seasons of unseen growth. God is stretching your patience, strengthening your faith, and sculpting your character so that when your moment of revelation comes, you will be ready to carry it with wisdom and humility. His timing is perfect, not according to your clock, but according to his eternal calendar. And though you may feel delayed, you are never denied. Every pause in your life carries divine intention. Every unanswered prayer has purpose, and every closed door has a lesson stitched inside it. God works with precision, not haste, because he values preparation over presentation. And if he is taking time, it is because he is building something meant to last. So while you wait, do not grow weary, do not lose faith, and do not assume the silence is a sign of rejection. It may simply be the moment before the miracle, the quiet before the curtain rises on what he has been creating behind its scenes. You may not see movement, but heaven is never still. Angels are working, circumstances are aligning, people are being positioned, and resources are being gathered for your breakthrough. The silence is not empty. It is full of divine activity that you cannot yet see. And if you could glimpse even a fraction of what God is orchestrating for you, you would stop worrying and start worshiping, because everything you have prayed for is already in motion. It is simply unfolding in a way that protects you, matures you, and blesses you at the right time. The seed does not rush to sprout. The sun does not hurry to rise, and the river does not force its flow, yet all reach their purpose exactly when intended. So it is with you. The waiting is not punishment, it is protection. And the silence is not distance, it is direction. Sometimes God hides you to heal you, delays you to develop you, and withholds from you to make room for something greater. And when the appointed time arrives, everything that was once confusing will become clear. Every unanswered question will find resolution, and every moment of silence will echo with meaning. You will look back and see that the hand of God was upon you all along, crafting, guiding, and sustaining you when you could not even feel it. So keep trusting when you cannot trace him. Keep believing when you cannot hear him, and keep walking even when you cannot see the path ahead. Because faith is not about seeing what God is doing. It is about believing that he is doing something, and he always is. You are not forgotten. You are deeply remembered in the heart of the one who never sleeps nor slumbers, who writes your name on the palm of his hand, and who works tirelessly behind the scenes to bring forth your destiny. And when his plan finally unfolds, you will understand that every delay had a purpose, every silence had a lesson, and every waiting moment was shaping you for the glory that is about to be revealed. There are seasons in life when the silence of God feels almost unbearable, when the prayers you've whispered seem to disappear into the air, and your heart begins to question if you've been forgotten. But silence is never the absence of God. 'Tis often the evidence that he is working on something deeper, something unseen, something meant to last. You are not being ignored. You are being prepared, and the waiting you despise may be the very tool that shapes your destiny. In these hidden seasons, God is orchestrating details that your eyes cannot yet perceive. He is aligning opportunities, softening hearts, rearranging circumstances, and molding your character for what he already has prepared for you. Faith is not tested when you receive everything easily. Faith is proven when you keep believing in the dark, when you trust without evidence, and when you choose to stand firm even though you can't see the outcome. The silence is not punishment, it's a process. It's in these quiet moments that God matures you, develops your endurance, and teaches you to rely not on what you feel, but on who he is. Just like a seed planted deep in the soil, you might feel buried and forgotten, but the truth is that beneath the surface, transformation is happening. So the soil is not a grave, it's a growth place. It's where roots deepen before the flower ever blooms, and it's where strength forms before success appears. Your hidden season is sacred because God uses it to build a foundation that won't crumble when the blessing finally comes. You may not hear his voice now, but he is speaking through timing, through people, and through circumstances, teaching you patience, resilience, and trust. Sometimes the teacher is silent during the test, not because he is absent, but because he knows the student is ready to apply what has already been taught. So when life feels still, when prayers seem unanswered, and when progress feels invisible, remember that the silence of heaven often hides the busiest activity of God on earth. Every unanswered prayer is not a denial. It's often divine redirection. What you perceive as delay may be divine synchronization, where heaven and earth are aligning to bring forth something greater than your request. God's timing has never been late and never been early. It's always precise. He is not just preparing a blessing for you, he is preparing you for the blessing. Every disappointment you endure is shaping a deeper faith. Every tear you cry is watering the soil of your breakthrough. And every moment of silence is training your heart to depend on divine timing rather than human control. You see, the world measures success by speed, but God measures growth by strength. The waiting room is not a place of inactivity. It's a place of divine construction. In the stillness, God is writing a story that will one day make sense in a single, breathtaking moment of revelation. And when that moment comes, you will look back and see that the silence was not empty. It was full of purpose. Every closed door was protection, every detour was direction, and every pause was preparation. You will realize that heaven was never quiet. It was composing a symphony of miracles behind the curtain of your waiting. So don't let impatience rob you of what God is forming in private. Keep believing when you cannot see. Keep praying when nothing changes, and keep walking when the path is unclear. The same God who began a good work in you will complete it in his perfect time. You have not been forgotten, even when you feel unseen. You are deeply loved, completely known, and eternally remembered in the plans of a God who is still working silently, carefully, and powerfully behind the scenes of your life until the day his divine masterpiece is revealed and you understand that every second of waiting was worth it. There are times in life when the silence of God feels like the loudest sound in the world, when every prayer seems to vanish without an echo, and your heart begins to question if he still remembers your name. You stand in the quiet wondering why nothing is changing, why doors remain closed, and why help seems delayed. But that silence is not neglect. It is nurture. It is the space where faith takes root and trust grows stronger. God is not ignoring your cries. He is answering them in a deeper way than your understanding can reach. His silence is his strategy because in that stillness, he shapes your endurance and matures your heart. You may think he has paused your story, but in truth, he is writing it line by line, with perfect precision. What looks like inactivity is often divine construction, the unseen preparation for the blessing that requires your readiness. When you feel buried under uncertainty, remember the seed. Before it can sprout, it must spend time hidden beneath the soil. The darkness that surrounds it is not punishment, it is protection. The seed is not forgotten, it is forming. It is forming. The roots grow strong where no one can see, and when the time is right, it breaks through the surface in power and beauty. So it is with you. God hides you for a purpose. He strengthens what no one sees, so that when he reveals you, no storm can uproot what he has built. In the waiting, God teaches lessons that comfort could never teach. He shows you that his timing is not measured by your calendar, but by eternity's rhythm. Every delay has meaning. Every pause carries purpose. The waiting room of life is not empty space. It's a holy classroom where trust becomes more than a word and patience transforms into wisdom. You might not see progress, but growth is happening beneath your surface. And the silence is where he weans you off dependency on feelings and draws you into faith based on his character. Many lose heart in these seasons because they mistake quiet for abandonment. But silence can be sacred if you understand it as God's invitation to lean in closer. He speaks through peace, through stillness, through the subtle movements of your spirit that words could never express. Sometimes he doesn't give new instructions because he wants you to act on the last ones he gave. He wants you to stand firm, keep believing, keep walking, even when the path is dim. Waiting is not wasted time when it's spent in worship. Every second of surrender, every moment of trust builds a spiritual resilience that will carry you into your promise when the time comes. You are not being delayed. You are being developed. You are being developed. God uses the unseen seasons to separate distraction from destiny, to strip away dependence on others, and to make your heart ready for what he's already planned. When the appointed time arrives, everything that once felt heavy will begin to make sense. The doors that stayed closed will open effortlessly, and the people who were meant to stand with you will appear without struggle. You will look back and realize that what seemed like divine silence was divine synchronization. Heaven was never still. It was working with precision. Every unanswered prayer was being rerouted for your protection. Every disappointment was shaping your discernment. Every pause was aligning the right moment for revelation. You will understand that God never forgot you, not even for a breath. He was working behind the scenes, building bridges you didn't know you'd need, removing things that could have harmed you, and preparing blessings that your name was already written on. You'll see that his silence was the soil of your strength, and his delay was the proof of his wisdom. What you think is delay is actually divine coordination. Behind the scenes, he is aligning paths, protecting you from unseen dangers, and setting the stage for your breakthrough. If he answered too early, you wouldn't be ready. If he moved too fast, the blessing might crush you instead of complete you. So he waits until your heart is matured, until your faith is refined, and until your character is strong enough to hold the weight of his promise. While you wait, don't mistake silence for absence. Silence is his strategy, not his withdrawal. It's in the quiet that you learn obedience, humility, and patience, qualities that anchor you when life's winds begin to blow. Waiting doesn't mean nothing is happening. It means everything is happening exactly as it should, just beyond your view. When God finally moves, when the silence breaks, and when his hand becomes visible, you begin to understand the purpose behind every quiet night and every unanswered prayer. You see that what seemed like stillness was divine synchronization. Every disappointment, every delay, every no was protecting something sacred. The path that once looked uncertain now makes perfect sense because it was designed with divine wisdom. You realize that the moments you cried in confusion were actually the moments he was working most intensely for your good. His silence was not neglect, it was orchestration. He was writing a story that could not be rushed. He was building a testimony that could not be fabricated. And when the doors finally opened, they opened with a grace that feels effortless because heaven had already prepared the way. You stand in awe, not only because of what God did, but because of who you became in the process, stronger, wiser, humbler, and anchored in faith that no storm can shake. Looking back, you'll see that God was never distant, not even for a breath. His presence was woven through every silent moment, guiding you even when you couldn't feel him. Every prayer you whispered was heard, every tear you shed was seen, and every moment of stillness was filled with his purpose. You'll understand that the silence wasn't wasted time. It was preparation time. The waiting was not punishment, it was protection. The unanswered questions were not rejection, they were redirection. And through it all, you were never forgotten. God was working behind the scenes, writing a story so detailed, so intentional, that when you finally see the full picture, gratitude will flood your heart. You'll realize that the silence you once feared was actually the evidence of his deep, patient love, a love that refuses to rush what needs time to grow. You will thank him for the silence because now you know it wasn't the sound of distance, but the rhythm of divine timing leading you exactly where you were meant to be. There are times in life when the silence of God feels like a heavy weight pressing on your heart, when you pray and nothing changes, when you look for answers but only find more waiting. In those moments, you start to wonder if your prayers are being heard or if you've somehow been forgotten in the noise of the world. Yet silence is not a sign of neglect. It's the sign of divine work happening beneath the surface. God's silence is never the stillness of inactivity, but the soundless rhythm of preparation. What you interpret as absence is often his way of aligning what must be ready before his promise can appear. You are not forgotten. You are being formed. God's timing does not bend to human impatience because he is not merely focused on delivering your prayer, but on shaping your heart to receive it with faith, gratitude, and strength. The silence you feel is not punishment, it's protection, and it's the process through which purpose is refined and character is strengthened. In the quiet, God begins to speak in other ways. When words fade, he teaches through moments, through stillness, through the subtle awareness that he is near, even when unseen. The silence forces your spirit to listen differently, to hear with faith rather than with ears. It is here in this sacred stillness that faith deepens. You start to realize that belief is not built on evidence, but on trust. God often hides his activity so that you can learn to rely on his nature rather than his signs. When you can no longer trace his hand, you must trust his heart. It's easy to have faith when you see movement, but real faith is proven when all seems still. The silence tests your endurance, but it also transforms you. Every unanswered prayer teaches you to surrender control. Every delay strengthens your patience, and every quiet day builds your resilience. He does not remain silent to hurt you, but to help you discover that his presence is not dependent on your circumstances. You may not see progress, but that does not mean progress isn't happening. Progress isn't happening. Just as a seed is buried in the soil before it ever breaks through to the surface, you too may be hidden for a reason. Beneath the soil of waiting, God is nurturing your roots. The darkness that surrounds you is not the end. It's the environment where growth begins. If you were revealed too soon, you wouldn't be ready for the weight of your calling. Hidden seasons are holy seasons because they are the places where the unseen work of God takes shape. When you feel buried, remember that burial and planting look the same from the outside. Crum. The difference is in purpose. A burial marks an ending, but a planting marks a beginning. You are not buried to be forgotten. You are planted to grow. Your hiddenness is preparation for the revelation to come. While you wait, heaven is not idle. God is moving pieces, aligning paths, and preparing hearts in ways that you cannot see. What feels like a delay is divine synchronization. You are being positioned for something that requires the right timing, the right people, and the right place. Sometimes his silence protects you from premature success because a blessing given too early can become a burden. He wants the foundation of your faith to be strong enough to sustain what he is about to build. Waiting is not wasted time. It is sacred time. It is sacred time where destiny is quietly being constructed. Every second of silence is filled with unseen orchestration. If only your spiritual eyes could see the movement behind the curtain, you would stop worrying and start worshiping, because heaven is busy arranging your miracle with divine accuracy. And when the silence finally breaks, it will not be with confusion, but with clarity. Suddenly, everything will make sense. The pain, the pauses, the unanswered prayers. You will realize that nothing was random, that every detour had direction and every delay carried meaning. The doors that once refused to open will swing wide effortlessly, and you will see that what you thought was forgotten was simply being perfected. God's work behind the scenes will be revealed in such a way that every question will turn into worship. The same silence that once made you anxious will now make you grateful, because it will be the proof that he never left your side. His timing will arrive so precisely that you'll understand why he made you wait. And the joy that comes from that realization will be deeper than any quick answer could have given you. When you finally look back, gratitude will flood your soul, because you'll see that the silence was not a void, but a vessel. It carried your faith from fear to confidence, your heart from restlessness to peace. You'll realize that God was present in every moment, the stillness, the tears, the uncertainty. He was guiding, protecting, preparing, and loving you even when he said nothing. The silence was his classroom, his workshop, his gentle way of teaching you that faith is not about hearing his voice, but about trusting his plan. You were never forgotten. You were always being written into something greater. The silence that once felt endless will become your testimony that God works best in quiet places, that his delays are divine, and that behind every moment of stillness, heaven was moving with power, precision, and unshakable love. There are moments in life when the quiet stretches so long that it begins to echo inside your heart. When you pray with all your strength and still nothing seems to move, when days blend into nights and you start to question if heaven is even listening. The silence feels endless and the waiting feels heavy, but what you do not see is that silence is not the end. It is the beginning of something unseen. God works best in quiet spaces, because that is where faith grows without distraction. The silence is not meant to discourage you. It is meant to deepen you. It is where your spiritual roots begin to reach down into trust rather than circumstances. You may feel forgotten, but you are being formed. God's absence is only an illusion created by impatience, for he never leaves, never sleeps, never stops moving on your behalf. His silence is not his indifference. It is his precision, his process of building something stronger than your emotions can perceive. When you can no longer hear his voice, it does not mean he has stopped speaking. It means he is teaching you to listen differently. He speaks in whispers of peace, in quiet reminders through ordinary moments, in the patience that begins to bloom where panic once lived. The silence changes how you see yourself and how you see him. It shifts your dependence from immediate answers to enduring faith. Every delay is shaping something divine in you. Every unanswered prayer is protecting you from something unseen. And every moment of stillness is preparing you for a future you cannot yet comprehend. Faith is not built when life feels clear. It's built when you trust in the dark. God hides his work from your sight not to frustrate you, but to free you from relying on what you can see. He wants you to learn that his plans are not fragile, they are eternal, carefully woven, and perfectly timed. The waiting that silence brings is not wasted. Waiting is the sacred ground where transformation happens. Just like a seed buried deep in the earth, there is growth happening even when it looks like nothing is moving. The seed must stay underground, hidden and unseen, before it can push through the soil into the light. Likewise, your life must experience hidden seasons where no one sees your progress, yet heaven sees it all. The darkness of the soil does not mean the seed is forgotten. It means life is being formed in secret. You might feel buried by disappointment or surrounded by uncertainty, but that is where God is doing his quietest and greatest work. He is developing your roots so that when your moment of revelation comes, you will stand firm and not be shaken by the winds of life. It is human to want answers, to crave immediate change, but divine timing cannot be rushed. What feels delayed to you is right on schedule in heaven. God sees the end from the beginning, and he knows exactly when every promise must unfold. The silence is his way of aligning every detail, every person, every circumstance, so that when his plan manifests, it cannot fail. You might think he is late, but he is never a second behind. If he has you waiting, it is because he knows you are being readied for something greater than what you've asked for. Sometimes the blessing itself needs preparation. The people, the timing, the place, all must come together perfectly. So do not mistake stillness for stagnation. Heaven is working in synchronization, even when earth looks silent. The silence of God is often the busiest activity of heaven. And then there comes a moment, often when you least expect it, when the silence begins to break. As the doors that once stayed shut begin to open with ease, the path that felt lost becomes clear.